Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mouseminds. We are live for you here on YouTube and on Facebook as well. And we are streaming for you. Of course, we do it live every Tuesday at 8:30, and then of course, we always have our podcast ready to go on Fridays at 5 p.m. on all your favorite podcasting platforms. You can find us there. We definitely want to thank everyone for joining us this week. We have Luella and Michael joining us this week. Hello, guys.
Hello.
So for this week's topic, we are discussing
Good
something
evening,
that Michael
everybody.
came up with, which I think is an awesome topic. I'm sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I don't know if there was a delay or not. But this week we are doing one and done Disney experiences. So we are doing all of the Disney experiences that you've done at the parks. That might be something that you've done it, you experienced it, and you're done now. Maybe there was a lot of hype surrounding said thing. Maybe there was a lot of people were talking about it, but the fact remains you've done it, and that's it. You're done. And of course, throughout the years, I've culminated a list of a lot of these things. I'm sure the rest of you have as well. So, who wants to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
So,
having issues, so Loyal, it's all you.
Oh, okay. So I haven't been to the East Coast very often, but when I saw this, I had to ride it, and it's one of my biggest regrets, and that's Mission Space in Epcot.
Ooh,
And I had decided I'm going to do the true experience. And right after we rode that ride, uh, we had a reservation at um, one of the French restaurants, and I was so sick that I didn't get to enjoy the French restaurant. In fact, I was passed out on the table, and then after that, I had to go back to
ooh,
the room. So should have done the. I remember there was different colors, right? There's an orange and a
mhm,
green or something like that. I should have
mhm.
just done the regular one, but I said well, I'm going to go all in, and I didn't feel like I was sick the moment I was writing it, but after, boy, did I not feel good. So I don't even remember the ride, to tell you the truth. That's how just sick I felt afterwards. So that's a
I
one and done for me.
I can honestly tell you that is the only ride myself that I've ever gotten sick onto. Now, there was extenuating circumstances because, I was a much younger man, and of course, you'll know this when you hear the story. This was back when Pleasure Island was open, and me and my friends decided it'd be a great idea to go there the night before and have some fun. We'll just leave it at that. And then we had some fun the next morning. I had a very large breakfast. And I had a buffet, in fact that morning before we entered the park. And where did we go first off? Which was Mission Space. And I found out that there is a third door in Mission Space, and in that third door, they have clothes that people maybe lost and found clothes or just clothes in there in case you have an accident. So we're just gonna leave it at that. And
I knew
I
right
did
then
buy
and
shorts at
there
Disney
I
though.
would never be an astronaut. Right then and there.
I wrote it ever since then because I've written it millions of times and I've never gotten sick. But it was just that combination was not sitting correctly. I fully understand why people do not want to ride Mission Space, and believe it or not, the funny thing is this is the toned down version because the original version of Mission Space was a lot more intense than what we have now. So
Oh
you
gosh,
can
yeah.
only imagine.
I
Yeah.
personally don't know what either one of you are talking about because I go green and that's it. I am not going to subject myself to orange and wind up like either one of you. So that's so you've
well,
solidified it for me. It won't be done.
well, from the standpoint of a ride, I mean, it's just a centrifuge, so it doesn't sound like something that would make you that sick. But when you ride it, man, I'm telling you, it's intense.
Oh, it's I wouldn't even do the tamed down version. It really ruined the rest of the day for me. It was just I couldn't function even hours after. I just had to go to the room.
I, I will say that ride has a lot of things that are against it because not only are you in that centrifuge where you're experiencing those super intense G forces, but you also have such a small confined space and you're locked into that shoulder harness. And it is like it is very intense to be that close. And then of course you lean on your back and there's all kinds of things that happen that if you have any sort of phobias, like let's just say I can see why it never has a weight.
And I'm surprised with all the. I mean, I guess it's not negative press anymore, but for a while it was getting all the bad press. And are they going to start counting guests and saying, "Is there something better that we can stick in there someday?" So,
Mhm. Well, until that sponsorship runs out, which I don't know. That's a great thing for me to look up. I don't know when that sponsorship ends, but when that sponsorship ends, whenever that may be with Hewlett Packard, which it seems like the longest sponsorship ever, then we'll go ahead and we'll determine what comes next. But until that day, it's going to be mission space forever.
that's it. Printers and astronauts brought to you by Hewlett Packard. So
There you go.
don't quite understand. I guess one of
Our-
mine, kind of piggybacking off that, is the Space 220 restaurant. Tried it once, was not at all impressed. I actually didn't go into the prefix portion because I was not paying upwards of $60 for what is, according to the menu, fairly mediocre food. Sat in the lounge, wanted a hamburger. Oh, you can't have a hamburger. You have to be sitting down there for a hamburger. Meanwhile, it's the same kitchen. We can give you these awful little sliders, which were not hamburgers. So it was very tough and chewy. The meat was terrible. I wound up, they said, look, I'm not paying for this meal. I'll just leave now. Manager was fine. He just, it's okay, no problem. Thank you. Didn't even bother waiting for the silly little return back to earth. I'm like, where's the door? So they just let me go because I was the only one there.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was enough. I mean, I tried it once back in the day, and I know this is a long time ago, but there's a similar restaurant in Manhattan, Mars 2112 or something like that. Better food, better atmosphere. I met Brad Pitt and a couple of his kids there that night. Very similar. So that's what I was expecting. And it was really not impressed. So I guess I won't be back.
I can understand your point on that one. It is not one of those restaurants that, I am like really excited to go back to because of the price of the meal for one person. And then of course, but I think the views in there are really nice. I would if someone asked me to go, I would probably go again, but it's not something I would act.
You mean the
Yeah, the space view and the
Yeah.
I wish I had photos from I went there like last year, so I have photos somewhere of when I went, but I did the 3-course the prefix meal and I mean I was I did the vegetarian version and it was good food. Like it was really good. At least what I had was really good. But it was not like worth the price. What was it like 70 or $80 per person? More than that. I want to say like maybe 90 and that didn't include a drink. And then on top of that, you
By
have
the
to
time you
wait. Yeah, now did you have a reservation or did you wait?
I made the reservation, and at the time, this was probably last year, and they were still tough to get. Just kept pounding the app. Finally found because I was just there by myself. Like I said, I just wanted to try lunch, and I kept hearing that it was an experience to give a shot to. I gave it a shot. Very reminiscent of Coral Reef as far as the bad food and the view, but at least the fish that you see are real.
That's true. Yeah, Coral Reef is another one. That's a good one. I never thought about that. That is definitely a one and done for me. Because the food has never been. I mean, there was a time there where I was going there pretty regularly because at the time my significant other really enjoyed a dish there, so we were going there when we were at Epcot, not for the views, just this one dish. And I tried the whole menu and I never really found anything that was like that would make me want to come back. And the views of the aquarium, I can see that on the other side inside the attraction, so I have no real reason to want to be there.
I mean, there are people who think that Red Lobster is perfectly acceptable too. So if you don't know good seafood, you'll do a coral reef or a Red Lobster, and you'll be fine with it. If you have young kids, maybe you want to take them to the fish, but like you said, you don't have to buy the meal when you can get a lot more fish on the other side of
Yeah.
that class. So,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. And the thing with Space 220 is the weight. Like it's not a I mean, you have to have a reservation, number one, or if you don't have a reservation, you have to go wait for the bar, which is what I did because I had never been there. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do. I'm just going to go on a night where I have absolutely nothing to do and can waste 2 hours and wait there. And I wound up waiting an hour and a half to eat there, standing outside. Like there's no seats, it's just standing. And you have to stand at the restaurant. I was the only one in line, and I had to stand there for an hour and a half until someone left the bar, and then I was able to be seated. I could not leave. There was no like text message. There was no like come back, your table's available. There was none of that. It was just wait here. And there's and that little enclave there where it's in between like the restaurant and then mission space, there's nothing there. So it was just it was boring.
And
I
and
think
right there,
I
they ruined it for you.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it. We're coming from far. I don't live there in Florida, so knowing that we had to make a reservation and everything is just a part of, like you said about Coral Reef. I think we, as a family, enjoyed it. Yes, it's a one and done, but it wasn't a bad experience for me. I actually really enjoyed kind of the imagination of going into space,
Hmm.
and I think mostly my kids enjoyed it so much, so I enjoyed it because
Well,
it's expensive, so it better be worth it for the experience, and they enjoyed that experience. Is it?
I
Am I looking for best food? I the same has to go for like character meals. I don't think that's the best food at all, but they're so happy, so we're having a good time. So that I think that's it achieved what we expected it to achieve, just taking us out of place, pretending we're in space, and then having a good time as a
let
family.
me because I just found. Let me just do this here because I found the photos from my trip. Hold on one second. Yeah, yeah. I found the. I wish I could share my screen. But I did find the photos. But the food that I actually ate there, I agree. I mean, who owns Space 220? Is it? I think it's Patina. I think Patina owns Space 220. So they have a bunch of restaurants around Disney World. But I will say like the food I did have there was really awesome. It was amazing food. It just was not like it's not some like it wasn't it wasn't $80 good. Let's just leave it at that. It wasn't something I would go back to, again and again and again, because the food was, you know, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it was like a neat experience. I love the feeling of going up into the space the restaurant and doing the whole elevator thing. That's not what they call it. They call it something different. But going up into the elevator and then going back down, I thought that was really fun, and it's really heavily themed. It's just it's just one of those things where it's like, it's like, okay, I've done it now. Wow, that was great. Like, it was a nice meal, but it's not something that I could do like on a weekly basis or tell everyone like Liberty Tree Tavern, for example. I could go there like, whenever I'm at like Magic Kingdom, I'm like, hey, maybe I should go to Liberty Tree Tavern. Mostly
I don't
because
think it's made that way though. I don't think it's made for something that you're supposed to go because it's hard to get. Well, I don't know how it is now, but
true,
it's not a quick service. You have to
true.
plan it. You have to really plan it around your day and your time. So it's I don't think that's the clientele that they want. You got to go there every time.
That you are 100% correct. They just want the people that come there once a year because I think too the people that only come once a year they're not going to complain about the food. They're not going to complain about anything. They're going to see the pretty view and that's it. Here, I'll throw up some of the pictures of my food that I had there. This was a Pop Rocks non-alcoholic drink with Pop Rocks in it. And then I had the vegetarian pad thai, and then there was a soup. that I had. I think it was a butternut squash soup at the beginning, which was delicious. And then I had some dessert. I had this chocolate cake. I think it was a flourless chocolate cake. So the food was, I thought, was for what it was. I mean, I thought it was really good. Is it, an $80 meal? No, I don't. I
No,
don't.
what you showed us was $40 or $50 max.
Yeah. Well, you have to add on the Disney tax because it's inside Disney.
Hmm.
So maybe with the Disney tax because it's in. Well, there's more of a tax because it's in Epcot too. So maybe because of that, I don't know.
It's not one of those restaurants where you go for the food. It's
Yeah.
Cinderella's Royal Table. It's T Rex. It's
Yeah.
Rainforest Cafe. Nobody goes, oh my God, I can't wait to go have a delicious meal at Rainforest. You're not doing
Yeah.
that for the food. You're doing
Yeah.
that so,
True.
as you said, your kids have an awesome time. And if your kids are smiling, well, it'll hurt a little less when I sign that check later.
Yeah. And trust me, it definitely hurts when you sign that check there. Yeah, I'll just show you, just so everyone online can see. Of course, if you're listening to the podcast, you can see this, you can see pictures of this anywhere, but just so everyone online can see, there's an inside shot of Space 220 that I took. It looks really gorgeous in there. The nice shot of Earth, the whole process, the veggies growing in the little wheel, kind of reminiscent of what they had in Horizons and things like that. So it's very pretty. It's just it's not, it's one of those things like I've done it, I can say I did it, and I don't have to do it again.
Mhm. Exactly.
So that totally got me off my train of thought of where I was gonna say about one and done. Oh wait, I remember now. So I have two big ones. And people may or may not agree with this one. Number one is going to be Cinderella's Royal Table. I don't. It's just I've done it. I eating in the castle. Like I understand the premise of it. I understand why you think it's so amazing, but it doesn't do it for me. I mean, it doesn't. That thing, eating in the castle when I was growing up was something completely different than what it is now. It is such a everything that involves characters at Disney is such a production. It's just about getting you in and getting you out and getting you to see the characters, and it's like bing bang boom, and it just feels so much. It doesn't feel organic in any way, shape, or form. It just feels like you're part of a production.
Well, do
And
you see? I've never done it. I have boys,
mhm,
but one of the things that I was shocked, I think, when I did the dining plan, I think it was like 2 points for that.
yeah,
So I would assume that you're getting all your characters. That's what you're
well,
getting. So
you do see
that,
them, but it's just like any other character interaction. It's just come to the table, leave, come to the
mm,
table, leave. It's like they keep moving. It's not, they don't spend any extra time for you. It's the one, I think it's the only restaurant on Disney property still that requires you to pay for it in advance when you make the booking. So when you do the reservation, you have to pay what, I don't remember what the cost is now. I'd have to look it up. But you have to pay in advance for the meal as like a guarantee that you're going to show up.
Whoop de
And
doo,
then
same way.
Hoop-de-doo. Oh yeah, Hoop-de-doo. That makes sense because it's a show. That one, yeah, that one is true. That one is coming back soon, I think, or is it already back? I don't. Is it
It's
already
been
back?
back. Yeah, I went last year.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, you're right. Hoop-de-doo is another one like that. But Cinderella's Royal Table. I mean, it, it's like even if you have boys or girls. I mean, I say go do it once just to get the experience of eating in the castle because it is kind of iconic, but you don't really need to do it again. And the same applies to Beauty and the Beast. I've been to Be Our Guest restaurant so many times. And I gave it so many chances because it is so pretty in there with the snow falling and the windows and everything else. And it's absolutely gorgeous in there. But I have never had a meal there that has been perfect. It's always been subpar food, even from the start. Because one of the things that I've always noticed with Disney restaurants is when and just theme park restaurants in general, is when they first open, the quality of the food is usually really amazing. Or if like they've just gone under refurb and they reopen and they make a big deal about it, the food is usually amazing because they just reopened. They want to impress everyone. And then 6 months, a year down the road, the food kind of starts slacking. It was the same way when they opened New Fantasyland. be our guest was this, it was a semi great meal. I thought it was fantastic. And but nothing like amazing. And then as time went on, it just got worse and worse and worse. The only thing that really held any merit with me was the lunch, which they had this is back when I was eating meat. They had a roast pork dish that was actually really good. Um, and they don't have that anymore. I don't even think they have lunch anymore.
The pork was
But lunch,
good. The turkey was okay, but since they went prefixed again, the
yeah,
the meal subpar,
and the
unfortunately.
breakfast is absolutely horrible.
Yes.
You get they advertise that you get, whatever your entree is, you choose an entree, and then you get this like pastry basket. And if you're like two people, they give you like a tiny like Danish and like a piece of toast in the basket. And I kid you not, that's all that's in there. Like they skimp so much on the bread. Like the one thing that could actually fill you up. And then the entrees are tiny. They're just tiny entrees. So again, one and done for me.
Oh gosh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And it has potential. Like you said, the building is beautiful, but sometimes people go in there try to see the beast, but sometimes he's just not around, and it's hit or miss with the characters, and not worth it.
But I think deep down they know that. Like
Hmm.
they know that they can milk it for all it's worth because people are going there for the experience. They're not going there for the food. Um, I think when it first opened, people were going there for the food because they kind of thought, it's a nice place because it was really, I mean, it looks like a castle inside. So you would think that they would have amazing food, but just over time, as anything inside Disney parks, you have kids running around and touching things and doing all the stuff, and people who have been drinking in there, doing whatever else because it was one of the first restaurants to serve alcohol inside Magic Kingdom. And it's been rode hard and put up wet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that I hate to use that expression, but that's the only way I can think about it. Is it's just one of those things where it's like after it's just showing its age a little bit.
It's a shame. But hey, now give us a West Coast vantage point here, especially for someone
Mm,
like you who is there so often.
yeah.
What
Tell
are
us
you
why.
and your family just like? Hey, we're not doing this anymore.
Tell us why
Been
you
there.
picked Blue Bayou.
And Cars Land. Why would you not go back to Cars Land?
Oh
Oh,
gosh, it's kind of tough because I was thinking more of just things that make me sick. So, um, but I would say that Blue Bayou is not. I probably only go there if I'm with someone who wants to go there. I don't necessarily, um, but it is a wonderful ambiance. And when you ride Pirates and you see the restaurant, everybody asks us, "How can we eat over there?"
hmm
So it's neat. It's a neat experience. I personally don't find the food all that. Um, I think it's kind of pricey, but it's not like I'm not going there. I mean, I think I've gone there many times when someone's out of town because it's cool. It's a neat it's a neat place. So it's certainly not one of my favorites, but I don't poo poo it when someone says they want to go to Blue Bayou. I'm always like, give it a try. Give it a try. You should. And then maybe they'll say, well, the food wasn't all that great, but the ambiance was fantastic. And that's what it is. The ambiance is
hmm
fantastic. The problem is everybody wants to sit right by the water. There's only so many seats right by the water. So sometimes when you're at the back and you're in Blue Bayou, it's like, well, it's not really all that because you're not by the water. But it is first come, first serve to sit by the water. You can
I'm
request
hearing
it,
a
but that doesn't mean you'll get it.
you gotta get it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a theme here. A lot of these restaurants are about the experience and about the atmosphere, and not necessarily about the food.
Well, maybe there are people actually that love the food. I'm just not a fan of some of the foods there. So it's food is very subjective. So it's but I'm not gonna. It's not fair to compare it to Napa Rose in Grand California. So it's kind of what you. I'm not disappointed because that's what I'm expecting when I'm spending at Blue Bayou. Just like I've been to the restaurant with Belle. I'm not disappointed because I know what I'm going to get, which I shouldn't maybe put my hopes down low, but I knew I was going to fall in love with the castle food. You know. So same with Blue Bayou. I'm not disappointed because I know what I'm getting. The food maybe not all bad, but boy, do I love to be there and see the boats go by.
I'm gonna say something that is going to upset some friends of mine because I actually have a friend who used to work at this restaurant, and I've tried it numerous times, and I can't get into it and get around the hype, and that is Cafe Orleans. I've
Oh,
tried the Monte Cristo. I've done the full experience, and I have a friend who actually worked at Cafe Orleans many years ago, and I just I don't like. I was not a fan of the Monte Cristo. I did not like it. I don't get like the hype around that and the mint juleps and everything else. Like maybe that's just a West Coast thing. I don't know,
mhm.
but I just was not. And I feel like a thousand Disneyland key holders are crying right now. But I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, I think one of the things with with Cafe Orleans is it's cheaper than Blue Bayou. It's priced much better than Blue Bayou. It's not hard to get in, and maybe Monte Cristo is. I don't actually know where it's from, but we're kind of raised on it, so we like love it, right?
Mhm.
It's this fried sandwich that you dip in jelly. So, and you get it there. Now the mint julep, it's not a real mint julep. So what they,
Of
they
course.
do instead of the alcohol, they make it super sweet. So, it could be on the sweet side. Maybe if you had a real mint julep with alcohol, that would be really fun. But it's part of the experience of being in New Orleans Square there at Disneyland. So, but it's not for everyone.
I don't know. People are just out there getting the Monte Cristo because it's so famous and it kind
Yeah,
of it perceives itself. So everyone, oh, when I get there, I can't wait to have this because I heard it on social media. It's
yeah,
been around before
Yeah.
social media. It's just the thing to go try.
yeah,
When you're local and you've tried it, okay, I've done it, but save room for the folks that have never had it before. Now it's
Yeah.
their turn to go. It was a sandwich.
yeah,
But
yeah.
just go to Rancho del Zocalo. You won't be upset. Trust me.
Then
That place
you get
is amazing.
your Mickey shaped beignets over there. So it's all in the fun.
Or get a chimichanga on Main Street. You won't be upset.
But but yeah, no, I mean, as I think of like kind of the one and dones, and honestly, like it's just because I get sick. It's teacups. I just
Okay.
I get just I think there's a running theme here with motion sickness.
But even if you skip the teacups and it won't ruin your trip.
Yeah,
Oh, I went to Disneyland. I didn't ride the teacup. You'll be fine. And for you, you did it. You've experienced it. It's fine that I can walk past it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
Yeah.
And you did it, so it's not like you've never done it to say, "Oh, I never got the experience." So you're safe.
There's not too many things at Disneyland that make me say, one and done. There's only a handful of things, but the biggest one out of all of the attractions at um well, Disneyland or Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure. And I know going into this what this attraction would be because it's a type of roller coaster that's been around forever. But Goofy's Sky School, I literally I don't know what happened, but those cars are so tiny that when we got to the end and they hit the brakes, the trim brakes at the end, my knee went right into the front of the car there, and it hurt. That ride, it's just pain. And I know mouse style coasters like that, that's just what they are. They're not built for comfort. They're just wild and crazy, and I get it. And it does have nice theming for what it is, but it is still a mouse coaster and it hurts. And that
yeah.
thing hurts bad.
Well, I don't know if you know that's not the original name of that ride. That's not the original concept.
What
So
what was it when it
pri
was
yeah, so prior when Disney California first opened,
mhm.
that was a lot of those rides, if you notice, they're kind
Mhm.
of off the shelf rides.
Yep.
So it was called Mulholland Madness, and it was, based on Mulholland Drive in California, which is a very curvy road. So that
Mm.
is what it was named after. That's the experience you're getting, is going on Mulholland Drive, which I think Mulholland Drive is scarier because you can fall off the cliff. Um, and then when they renamed it, I guess they called it Goofy Sky School. So, but it's the same it's the same ride.
Yeah, I guess that park really had an identity issue when it first came out because it really was just generic stuff. And if
Generic
you
stuff.
can you
Yeah.
can just retheme it to, hey, look, now it's the Incredicoaster, but it's the same ride before we put in this launch.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper than tearing everything down and starting from the beginning. It's just, how do we take these swings and turn it into something Pixar themed? Well, we'll make it Emotional Whirlwind.
The thing is though, and I had this same discussion with someone about uh uh Dino Land at Animal Kingdom, and I just recently watched a like an Imagineer talk about how they designed Dino Land and stuff like that, and the same applies to Paradise Pier, Pixar Pier, whatever you want to call it, over there, whatever you choose to call it, I should say, at California Adventure. Even though those are like kind of off the shelf attractions, like Disney did a lot to that to make that fancy. Like, for example, like with Dino Land, for example, when they built Dino Land, like people think, oh, it looks like a parking lot, so on and so forth. Like, no, they had to build that to look like that. They had to make the road have cracks in it. They had to make it with the lines. They had to design everything out. That took a lot of, it was like really hard for them to do that. And I know a lot of people, I don't know if this is like confirmed or this is just a rumor, but there was like this thing floating around that I always saw that they basically said that California Adventure ran out of money, and then that's how we got Paradise Pier. It was just it didn't cost as much to do it, but I really don't feel that way. I feel like when you walk through that area, at least a few times that I have, it's very well themed, and even though they had things like what was it, the Maliboomer, you know,
Hmm.
the attractions like that, those they were still like, for the time when it opened, they were still really kind of quality attractions that Disney themed and did a lot too, especially the Incredicoaster, a launch coaster at that time, something like that was amazing. And then, you know, the thing about that part of the park is, it's right there in the back, and you don't really see like a lot, even though it's surrounded by town, you don't really see that the the vision, what or the line of sight, what you actually see in there is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that they could design all that and keep, kind of the outside hidden and keep you in that whole area. So I personally think that, even though those attractions were kind of off the shelf attractions, I still think they did a really good job of designing that area.
And see, when I was out there, I've only been out there once, but to me, and this is only going to be for people up in the Northeast, like this wasn't even Great Adventure. This was more like Dorney Park. It wasn't Disney. It was just, like Universal Light or something, with just these,
Yeah.
faster rides that you're not going to get in a dark ride. But they didn't. They could either they ran out of time or ran out of theming, and they put something up and said we'll get back to this eventually. And did they wind up removing a lot of the facade in the front?
Yes.
Still up there,
They
heavy
they
California.
did. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of funny that I thought that, not funny, but I mean, they put a lot of thought, but they put a theme part of seeing California, and we're all Californians. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't really have a desire to go to a theme park called California when I've seen the real Golden Gate Bridge and I've gone to Mulholland Drive and I can go to Malibu.
Right.
So it was kind of a funny theme. And I think they're trying to make up for it now and revamping everything. But it's all, a lot of the attractions are still similar, just different theming. And they've vastly improved it. I mean, I think they had to, because no one was going when it first opened. You weren't going to pay a full ticket to go there.
Right.
To be to be fair though, I don't see how that could be, seeing as that probably has the most thrilling attraction in the whole park because that Mickey's Fun Wheel of Death is
Yeah.
just if you I
Oh,
listen,
there. That's a one and done for me.
if you can
Swinging
handle
wheel.
that the swinging chair,
Yeah.
I God bless you. I mean I don't know what to tell you because that thing I looked at it, I stared at it, and there was no way in heck I was. And I'll ride the most wildest coasters any day, but there's no way I was getting on that. No way.
And there again, what besides the fact that you put the name Mickey and you put up a happy face, what makes that a Disney ride? Nothing. That's just your re-theme because there are plenty. I don't know if the Orlando Eye also slides. I don't know if it's just one of the ones like
No.
in Vegas. But I mean, Ferris wheel's a Ferris wheel with those swinging cars,
I
so
agree.
it's not exclusive.
I can kind of agree with you, but if I remember correctly, the design came from a specific type of there's a story behind that Ferris wheel. It came from a specific type of Ferris wheel at I forget where it was located at. Like they copied it kind of almost exactly and made it bigger. And there's like a story behind it. I think that helps its case a bit because I mean Disney does is going to do what they do. They're going to find something with a story and put that in the parks, and then it's not just it's I think it's unfair to compare those attractions um to like a Six Flags or something like that. I mean, I get it. I understand why you would do that. First glance, it makes sense, but there is like stories behind it. Maybe it's a little harder to find, but all those attractions have stories behind them and things like that that you just would not get at a Six Flags. It's not about being the biggest and baddest roller coaster. There's actually a story behind each attraction. So I think they get a little more credit in that sense. But that's just personally me. You know, I'm I love
Kind of what
everything
you said
Disney.
about Animal Kingdom and Dino Land. Somebody got paid a boatload of money to come up with that whole backstory.
Mhm.
And this is why Chester and Hester is here, and this is why Donorama is here. All that stuff that somebody went to bed, woke up, and said, "Hey, you know what? There are paleontologist interns that are camping out over here, and that's what's going on here." And then these folks heard about the dig, so they built their little amusement park, and that's why it
Yep.
looks like a parking lot amusement park because that's what it's supposed to be themed after. Your average Midwest family has no idea that there's a backstory.
Yeah.
They just want to know why they have to pay $10 to win a little tiny plush animal.
Well, not only that, they go over there and they realize what they paid for a day's park ticket, and they look at Dino Land and they're like, "Oh," which I can kind of understand, but like without knowing the story or the backstory, I mean, it doesn't, it off off the cuff, it just doesn't look like something that is. You're like, wow, this Disney did this. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. There's a story. The moral of the story is there's a story in everything. Even Pleasure Island, which was just an island with dance clubs on it, each building had its own story. Like it's insane. Like what the links that Disney will go to for detail. I mean, they created a whole backstory and then had when it opened had shows that you know talked about that backstory and talked about Meriwether Pleasure and all the people who ran the island and the fireworks factory and the power factory and all these things, and there were even plaques on each building. It was like insane, like the amount of detail, and that's what Disney does with their attractions. But then again, an average person, you're like you said, from the Midwest that comes out to Disney and they're like, wow, you know I went from seeing these amazing castles to this, so I get it.
Yeah, it's like a church carnival. So now
Yeah.
switching gears, when I came up with this topic, it wasn't only about things that I will never do again, although I still have more on that list. But one thing that you should at least try once, to me, have always been the tours. They're a
Yes.
little pricey. You might not go on them twice,
Hmm.
but I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't find one you can afford, even if it's the $20 behind the scenes tour. If you
Yeah.
don't have to drag, a family of six and it's just you and your significant other, you by yourself, I would always recommend at least giving the tours a shot.
Oh yeah. I think the problem with the tours is they're not like me being someone who goes to Disney often, I honestly would have to hunt for where I could actually book the tours. They're not something that's really publicized. I mean, the Keys to the Kingdom tour is, oh my god. I mean, you get to go on the Utilidors. Come on. I mean,
So
that's pretty amazing.
let me ask this because it's actually very easy to find the tours in California. So, and I've never taken a tour on the at the Magic Kingdom or for Walt Disney World. So it's not something that when I walk in I can just find.
No, so you could go to guest relations and they can, I mean, they can help you there set one up, but it's not like something that like they advertise. There's no
Interesting.
signs for it.
It's not on
Like
your app because it's on the app for Disneyland app.
no, I it's not on our app.
And again, I think
Mm.
because these Midwest families that are coming, I just keep just going Midwest. I don't know.
But
These families that are coming for their first time, second time, they're not looking for tours because number one, you don't have enough time. Number two, you just paid thousands of dollars for a hotel room and length of stay tickets
yeah,
and your food and don't tell me, oh, I can get the meal plan for
yeah,
free because you just paid rack rate for these rooms.
yeah,
Um, it costs a lot of money, and at
yeah,
$250+ per
yeah,
tour, and you're taking a good chunk of your day out. You're not dragging the whole family on there unless you have that kind of discretionary income. I don't think the kids want to go walking around and hearing backstories of the
hmm
weather vane at the top of the haunted mansion when they could be riding everything else instead of going on this. Mommy, my feet hurt. Mommy, I'm bored. When is this over? God, I'm hot.
hmm
Can we eat now, please?
yeah,
A lot goes into it. Whereas in
yeah,
California, when you have locals looking for something, yeah,
yeah.
come on in, folks. We will, we'll take a
Well,
dozen of you at a time.
well, when you can experience the rise in attractions whenever you want, that inclines you more to do the tours because you want to do something different. And two, when you have a tour that's literally, what is it? Walk in Walt's footsteps. I mean, when you have a tour called that, I mean
Mhm.
that just has people like that's like um putting on a putting on one of those zappers at night with the bugs flying to it. I mean, all the Disney fans are like, oh god, I gotta go. I mean, I've literally like all my friends that go to Disneyland, like the first time they go, that is always like the first thing they do. Like they do nothing else but that first. So
That's
like
a
I
fun tour.
get it.
That's a fun tour. Yes.
It's an
Um,
amazing tour.
but um, but yeah, that's true. It's a different clientele. But I look forward to doing Keys to the Kingdom next time I'm there. But like you said, I'm there. I don't have much time. I'm with my
Mhm.
family. I'm not doing a tour or riding rides.
Talking about and you're talking about with like Keys to the Kingdom, you're talking about giving up at
Yeah.
minimum half your day.
Yes.
And if you do something, I don't even like honestly, I don't even know what tours they do offer anymore. I'd have to hunt and see what they do offer now. But there was an awesome backstage magic tour that was a whole it was like
I did
12
that one
it ate
once.
12 hours
Yep. They
and it
put you on
was
a bus. It
amazing.
was very cool.
But you get and they show for you from what they show you for you from park to park and they feed you and it's like a whole setup. And that's an amazing tour, but again, you're giving up so many hours of your day to go ahead and do this tour and your normal average guest from the Midwest. I don't know why we keep picking on the Midwest tonight,
We
but
should.
but they're not going to do that. And there was a time when these tours were promoted. I mean, I've done the one at Epcot, there was a behind the scenes one at Epcot that I did many years ago. And they were promoted, but now it's not something that, you would even know. I mean, I honestly don't know if they're still doing it. I'd have to hunt. I'm actually gonna look that up while you guys talk.
Because I've only heard about the behind the scenes, the Keys to the Kingdom regularly. That other one, and it's been a long time since I did that one, but I want to say it was almost $400. Or am I wrong, Robert? The backstage magic, the all day
Yeah,
where they go to all the
that sounds
parks.
about right.
That was very costly, and that's on top of, hey, you need to buy a ticket to
Yeah.
get in because they don't want you to buy it, buy this tour and then disappear. You have to gain it. So now you're talking, if you're doing that plus this ticket, it's $500-$600 for the
Yeah.
tour. Because you get to go out and go to the park for the rest of the day, but it's a
Mhm.
big investment, and if a couple does that, you're talking almost $1,000 or more for a tour. That's when you leave the kids at the hotel. Just keep the
Yeah.
door locked, even if they yell security. Don't open this door. Hide under the bed. You're fine.
So yeah, they do still do the the Keys to the Kingdom tour. But I'd have to look and see what other ones they have. But the Keys to the Kingdom tour is a 5-hour tour. So that is the one that they're offering now. And of course, Behind the Seas. Behind the Seas is probably the only tour I've seen them advertise,
Right.
because they advertise it on the attraction because they have that little audio in there, and then they advertise it, there. And honestly, that's probably one of the best tours at Walt Disney World because of the fact that because of the price. I mean, for what you get for the price you pay. It's like, I wanna say it's like $20 or $30 to do that tour, or it was, I don't know what it is now, and you can literally walk up and do it. It's a couple hours long, it's not that long, an hour maybe, or maybe hour and a half, and then at the end of the tour, you get to eat veggies, like, they give you, like, samples from veggies from the garden and stuff like that, so it's actually a really nice tour, and you learn a lot about gardening, and I've done it, like, 2 or 3 times because it's just a really fun tour, it's something different to do. But yeah, they still have the tours. They even have a I'm looking at this here. They have I didn't even know this was a thing. They have an up close with rhinos tour at Animal Kingdom. I don't know if I want to be up close with rhinos at Animal Kingdom, but if you want to have those horns right in your face, I mean, by all means, there you go.
There's a lot beginning. You don't hear about it. It's not on the. Wait, do they? I don't know if they talk about it on the safari. I can't
No,
remember. I don't usually pay attention anymore. I just get
and they
on there.
used to have a well, they still have it, but they used to talk about the Wild Africa Trek, which was like a whole thing they were promoting with Animal Kingdom, because it was like, not only did you do kind of a behind the scenes tour, but you also participated in a ropes course and other stuff throughout the actual Harambe Reserve and everything else. And that looked like fun. But again, it's not something that they really talk about anymore. I mean, something like that, I have it pulled up here. It's a 3-hour tour. I could totally see a family, doing something like that. A more adventurous family who likes to, hiking or something like that, could see them definitely doing something like that. So
I don't know if that's the one where you walk across that rope bridge that goes
it
above
is.
the alligators.
That is the one. You are
Yeah,
100% correct.
I'll go walk in Walt's footsteps. You can keep your alligators to yourself there. Do they still take you up to the apartment on that tour?
They change it around. So I think right now it's the apartment. I haven't taken it lately, but they keep it fresh. So they change things around so that you have a repeat, tour,
Oh,
repeat
and I guess
person.
that's like you were saying with the clientele. If it's going to be the same folks, the same 10,000 guests every week, you better change it. And I might come back, but I won't come back a second time. I'm not going to run back to the Keys to the Kingdom. Saw the Utilidors. I'm
Yeah.
good there. They took
Yeah,
me on it on the Backstage Magic. I'm pretty good now. I've seen the hallways.
yeah.
So just looking at this here, and looking at the tours that they do offer now. So at Walt Disney World. So behind this Keys of the Kingdom, behind the Scenes tour, Wild Africa Trek. Looks like they have 2 more tours at Animal Kingdom. They have the Up Close with Rhinos, and then the Caring for Giants tour, where you get to get a close look at the African elephants. That's actually kind of cool. I would do that. That's only $39. Wow, that's a really good deal. I didn't know that was a thing. $39 to get up close with an elephant. I might actually do that this summer. Okay. There is a Drawn to Life tour, um, or Drawn to Life signature experience at Disney Springs, and then it looks like there is a I don't know where this one is located, but the Marceline to Magic Kingdom tour, which you get to learn about Walt Disney's life and the creation of Magic Kingdom. That one is $49. And then, of course, you can at seas you can go in depth with the dolphins. They've always had that, and kind of see what they do with the dolphins there. At the seas too, you can also go to you can also swim in the tank. Not too many people know that you
Ooh.
can actually go diving in a tank. I've actually been. I didn't dive in the tank, but they have another experience where you don't have to have your diving certification, and you can basically snorkel on the top. They give you, I say snorkel, it's a loose term because they actually give you like a tank like you would have if you were scuba diving. You just wear floaties so you can't go down that far. You're basically swimming on the top. But I can tell you, I will always remember that tour because the best part of that tour was the fact that we had to spend 30 minutes in a pre-show to the tour on what a proper turtle interaction looks like. You were if you as much as touched one of the sea turtles that were in that tank, that was you instantly got charged a $500 fine. Like
Oh
instantly.
man,
I was like,
that's
"Oh my."
too risky. I don't want to do that. I might
They were like,
accidentally
if
do
they
that.
come up to you, you are to swim away from them. If you accidentally bump into them, that's a $500 fine. And I mean, they were serious. So yeah, but it was an amazing experience. Swimming in that water is absolutely like I can't describe to you how like as someone who grew up in that with that attraction his whole life, like that is like the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I've ever done.
See, and not to be outdone, I'm on the Disneyland tour page, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Cultivating the Magic tour is a
That's a new
railroad
tour. Yeah,
guided tour.
yeah, that one's a good
Holiday
one.
Time at the Disneyland Resort guided tour, Walt's Main Street Story tour. Uh, I mean, I'd be down for any of those. There's no pricing listed, and I didn't drill down to find out what it involves. But all of those sound awesome, especially with the connection with Walt and the trains. I mean, that's something if you're a train buff. I don't think they offer that at Walt Disney World.
Yeah,
They
and they also have when you do that train one, you get to go inside the Lily Bell.
Hmm.
That's the only way, besides other
Oh,
connections, that you can go into the Lily Bell. So,
that's
and they tell the
awesome.
whole story. So that's fun. And these tours, like, they come and go. So that's the thing. They'll have it a couple months and they'll go away. Like they'll go dormant. They'll go dark, and then they'll come back again in a new version, I guess, to keep it fresh. So
I love this. I'm not trying to stop you, but I'm just looking at the Disney World website, and I love this description for the Keys to the Kingdom tour, and it says, "Experience an urban legend. Enter the underground service tunnels to uncover a mystery that's absolutely, almost unbelievably true." That is a great description of the Utilidors.
And meanwhile, it's no urban legend because it's truth. They're there. There's no. So I don't know who's coming up with that nonsense, but
That is PR gold,
that
my
is
friend.
that is
PR
not
gold.
Marty Sklar writing up his old PR stories. That's somebody. But yeah, I mean, there's no legend behind that, or there's no urban legend. But seeing the Utilidors, and it's not just, oh my God, so cool. I'm in the Utilidors.
Hmm.
Seeing all the stuff you hear about the garbage collection
Yeah.
and the color coded maps and the people going through and the poor high school kids. I mean, just seeing them in their costumes dripping wet from
Yeah.
sweat is just, I mean, you poor kid. And now you have a better appreciation of what you're doing to them by keeping them out there that long, signing autographs for you in that blazing heat, and more why they're moving them indoors or into shaded areas, and they don't just have them walking around like they used to.
hmm exactly.
Everything's done by design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any honorable mentions before we wrap up?
I'll say one thing, and I think it will be a negative. People will
Uh
hear pitchforks, but I actually am. It's a one and done for me. Those evening parties, like the Halloween party,
oh. Oh,
um, and the part,
absolutely.
and they're not cheap, and
Mhm.
over here in California, I don't know about over there. They're usually on a school night, so I spent an arm and a leg one time to bring my son, who fell asleep at 7.
Yeah.
And
Oops.
at the same time, I don't know if I'll need like $100 worth of candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well,
that's part of the excitement to wear your costume and trick or treat. But after a while, it's like, I don't need this much
I
candy
don't
or carrots.
I don't know how it is on the West Coast, but I can tell you on the East Coast, you can't get $100 worth of candy because those lines are so long for the candy that
It's
you
gotten
like
ridiculous.
literally like you go into the event and all the rides are empty. Every ride is empty. 5 minute wait, 5 minute wait, 5 minute wait. But there's a ton of people there. Well, what are they all doing? They're in line for the candy.
Yeah.
That's all they do. They go trick or treating. They go see the parade. They see some of the shows, whatever show that they like, and that's it. And there was a time when the tickets used to be, I think,
69,
60,
79.
69,
Yep.
$70. And that was something I could do, once a year. Like I would do it. Like that was
Mhm.
okay for me. Like to have the experience to dress up. I remember one time I went to the Pirates League at Magic Kingdom. I had the Jack Sparrow costume on, and I had them do the makeup for me at Magic Kingdom. That was a cool experience. Like that was awesome. But at the price they're charging now, I think it's like 150 for what it starts at 5 and it
Yeah.
ends at 10 or 11. I mean, you're paying almost a day's ticket price,
Yeah. Yeah.
go there, and
Hmm.
the only thing you're getting differently is candy, or if it's the Christmas party, you're getting cookies. And I'll be honest with you, if you're gonna go to the Christmas party, don't. You have two options, especially at Walt Disney World. I don't know about the West Coast, but don't, because the thing is, number one, if you go early enough, like I saw the Christmas parade, the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas parade before the party even started, because I went on the day that they were doing the taping for the Christmas parade, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to see the parade and I didn't want to pay to go to the party. So I you get to potentially be on TV, and B, you know, you get to see the parade before everyone else does. And not only that, they do it Christmas week. They run it during the day so you can see it then too. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
don't have to go like the parties are great, but I think like and the crazy thing about the parties is not only do you have the parties, but now at the parties they have dessert parties. A party on top of a party. I hate to be loud about that, but the audacity of Disney to take $180 from you or whatever it costs to get into the party and then charge another, I'm assuming $100
And
for a
change. Yep.
dessert party on top of that is wild and people are doing it.
That's the
So
Yeah,
thing.
people do
Yeah.
it, but like I said, it's one and done for me. I did it. It's fun. Don't need to do it again. Um, in the West Coast, we don't have a Halloween Christmas party. I think sometimes people are saying, "Why don't we have it?" And part of me is like, "Why would you want them to charge when they're
yeah,
giving it to us for free?
Anyway, sure.
Not free, but you're paying your ticket. You get the parade, you get the fireworks. Buy a
now
cookie, and a
Now,
chocolate
I will tell you
or so."
this, and then I wanna say one last thing to end this out. One last genre, I guess you could say, before we end this out. But I will say this: there's one thing that Disneyland does a lot better than Walt Disney World, and that is those special event parties. When they did the '90s night, when they do all those themed nights where it was like they had the Disney afternoon fireworks, like people were dressed up, they gave the fanny packs out, like those like it could be the same price as the Halloween party and I would go because they do it the right way. It's like a one night event. It's not like 30 different nights. It's one night, like you're either there or you're not there, and they do a great job of keeping everything on theme. They had Max in the Powerline outfit. They were doing the dance together. That was absolutely incredible. And they've done a couple of events like that with those same, kind of themes. And, doing it just once, I mean, people were fighting to get tickets to get in there. So I honestly think if they're going to do that, I mean, I understand people have traditions of going to the Halloween party and the Christmas party and everything. And for a normal guest, if you're not going to the park for the day and you're not buying a park ticket for that day, I mean, it is pretty close to the price of a park ticket, so I guess you're really not losing out that much there. But like for someone who's a pass holder, it's a bit much when you already pay for your pass. But the one thing I wanted to say just to end this out, because I know we've been talking for an hour here, is my the one thing that I just am completely over with, and I think they're kind of on the way out, but because attendance has gotten lower, because they used to have a lot more of these, is dessert parties. Dessert parties, I've done them. I did it when they first had them at Magic Kingdom. It was a lot cheaper. I think we paid $40 or $50 for the dessert party, and at that point, it was definitely. I thought it was worth it at that price point. I did the one at Epcot when they had the Illuminations dessert party. That one was nice because they they not only had dessert, but they actually had like salty foods too. So they had like chips and dip, and there was other things that they had like actual food items. So you could eat a meal there, hang out for a couple hours and then watch the fireworks, and it was a good experience. So that was fun, but I think the time for dessert parties has passed. I know people still do them. I see them every night. They're lining up for one at Magic Kingdom, but I just I don't see the draw anymore.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit different here. It's a dessert so that you can sit in the front and watch World of Color, or it's a dessert so that you can sit in the front of Fantasmic. So it's kind of that that's how they encompass the upcharge of
I mean, that,
dessert.
well, the thing at Disneyland is, I think it's a lot cheaper than it is at Disney World for that, because at
Mhm.
Disney World, I mean, they treat it more like, they focus on the fireworks, yes, but they focus more on the desserts and what you actually, because they have a full buffet of desserts. I don't remember. I swear, I think we did one when we went to California Adventure, but I can't remember. I seem to remember going to one and getting like special seating,
Yeah,
but
special seating. Yeah.
for World of Color. But
Yeah,
don't remember there being a lot of desserts.
no, I think they just give it to you. They don't
Yeah,
want you to touch it.
yeah. So it's different out there, but over here, like, it's a whole like buffet of sweets, and I can only eat so much dessert. Like, I can't eat a buffet of sweets. Michael, I don't know how you feel about these things, but it's just not my cup of tea. More power
No,
to you if you want to do
you
it
can
that way.
only eat so many of those terrible dry cups before you say no more. Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, I don't know how it works because I try to get a glimpse from that seating area, but I
Yeah.
guess it helps. But sitting under a covered area, especially up top, I guess you have to move down. There are so many better places to be watching fireworks from than
Yeah.
that covered Tomorrowland Terrace area. They took out a lot
And
of the
and
trees,
honestly,
but
if
it's
you're
still, looking up. I don't know if you're blocked. Not doing it.
And honestly, if you're gonna do that, let me just make an alternative suggestion to you. Skip the dessert party, go buy your own desserts, and what you can actually do is I don't know if you still can, but you could at one point because I've done this before. You can actually rent a boat for a fireworks cruise. I'd much rather do that and see the fireworks on the lagoon, or I haven't seen them at Epcot, but I know they did them at Epcot. But I'd much rather see the fireworks on the water and pay for that experience than paying for the dessert party, because the dessert party, again, is one of those things that's turned into production. They want to pack as many people as they can into those things, and you pay all that money to go there, and then if you don't, you have to go and claim a seat, and it's not like it's first come first serve. So if you don't get a good seat, you're not seeing as good of a view as you paid for, and you're just relying on desserts to cover the cost, and it's just I'd much rather, because the if you rent the boat, you have a driver. You can bring your own snacks on the boat, whatever you want, and then they'll drive you over there. You can get like 5 or 6 people. It's just you. There's no one else. You don't have to stand next to a ton of people. You're on the water. It's just something that people normally don't, a vantage point that people normally don't have.
buddy of mine invited me to go with him and his family, and I wasn't enthused about it, but I'm like, you know what? He invited me, let me go. It was incredible. I
Yeah,
changed my opinion on that right away. It was
yeah,
really awesome to be out on that pontoon boat, and you're not on there with anyone else except for
yeah.
your family and whoever else you invite. A little chilly, and always now I know how to dress for it next time in the evening. But it was really nice.
I'll tell you one last story before we end this. And I was at the Contemporary one night, and I was hanging out with my friends, and um we were we were starting. When I was younger, and we used to do monorail crawls, going from resort to resort, and hitting all the different bars. And we had just started at Steakhouse 70. Well, it wasn't Steakhouse 71. Whatever it was before, I can't remember now
The
what it was.
wave.
The Wave, yeah. We had just started at the Wave, and I walked out to go to the bathroom, and I saw this boat captain just standing there, and I just waved at him and said hi, and he said, "Hey, come here," and I said, "Okay," and he said, "Do you want to go see the fireworks on the boat?" And I said, "Absolutely," and I said, "How much does it cost?" He said, "Don't worry about it." So we go out to the boat. There's like a happy birthday banner on the boat. There's drinks. There's food on the boat, and come to find out, someone had purchased the boat, prepaid for it, and
Ooh.
just never showed up.
Mhm.
So we got to go on the boat completely free. I To this day I still don't. I Right place. I mean, I guess if you're at Disney, all the time, then something eventually happens. Right place, right time. There was like seven of us. We all got on the boat. We watched the fireworks. Now, of course, I would pay for this tenfold, like out of my own pocket. I'm not saying that I love this because of the experience that I had, but that was my first experience. So that was pretty amazing. But that was Disney magic. But yeah, that was a cool experience.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, right place, right time.
Yeah.
That's a good story to end on then.
All right, so that's going to do it for this week's show, guys. We certainly appreciate you joining us live here on YouTube, and we, of course, appreciate you joining us live on Facebook. We appreciate everyone who's here this week. Luella, we appreciate your West Coast knowledge with us today. And, of course, Michael, we always appreciate you being here. And we most certainly appreciate your snarky comments in the annual pass holder group. Make sure to look out for him. If you're an annual pass holder, he's very hard to miss. He's always has the best comments. So look out for that in that group. But that being said, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. Like I always say, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. And we definitely thank you guys for joining this week. And have a great rest of your week, guys. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye.